Mr. Sutton has already let me know that he will be late, so now that I'm rest assured I know where my board members are.
You're so kind. Thank you, Madam Chair. You're looking out for us.
Not a problem. You know, people who chronically late, not the way that people like me. But Mr. Fletcher, I was worried about, so thank you. So,
Thank you. I appreciate that concern.
all right, so we will officially get ourselves started, and you should have in your documents, if you haven't already pulled them up, it's very similar, sadly enough, from the last time that we did this. So you'll see a draft timeline for you all to take a look at now that the election is over, to fill the vacancy in District 7. So if you haven't taken time to look at it, like I said, we used a very similar timeline that we did last time. So this is for your feedback, given that board members will have to be very participatory without us having any sense of how many packets that we'll receive. So I want you to especially pay close attention to the timeline of when you'll have to engage as people pull it up slowly.
And with sadness, would you mind, since the policy is just so short for me to read the policy that's applicable here, policy 2115, and it's called unexpired term fulfillment. Again, it's policy 2115. It says all vacancies in the membership of the Wake County Board of Education will be filled by the remaining members of the board appointing a member from the voting district creating the vacancy for the remaining unexpired term, and in this case it would be the new term. The Board of Education will advertise the vacancy. The board may narrow the applicant pool as deemed necessary and will determine questions to be asked to applicants. Final applicants will be interviewed and voted upon in open session. The votes each applicant receives will be recorded in the minutes, and the appointed board member will be provided orientation consistent with board policy. And that's it.
Thank you, Jonathan.
You're welcome.
Time is up there.
Oh, the timeline isn't in here, but hopefully it should be here. Let me see if I can pull it up. I think I have it. Hold on. For some reason I can't get on there with it. I'll see if I have it in my emails. Maybe one of these will be on.
Go to the beach or something. Good. Yeah, going to Ohio.
Let's quickly.
Come on, the beach.
I do have one. It's cold, though.
Okay, so I have it in my email, and I'll actually I'll send it to you from there. Okay, send it to everybody at the table meeting. Melissa? I think that sounds like somebody just sleeping.
I have it.
Who has their volume on? Somebody. So as you pull up your email, what you do have in there is the position, that post that goes to the public. So that'll be ready to go after we decide the timeline. And just as a reminder, we post it publicly. I think last time we also posted it in the paper as well. for people, and it's also on our website. And I would say, for me, the biggest question, as I mentioned early, is the amount of time, given that this is kind of squished into a month with a holiday event later this month. Without an estimate of the number of packets we'll receive, how are people feeling about the amount of time that you would like to allot to review those applications will then impact the remainder of the timeline.
I think it's a big lift, but I think it would be nice to start sooner rather than later with a full board for me.
My only thought was, do we want to allow... The Thanksgiving break is coming right in that vicinity. So between now and the Thanksgiving break is a fairly short period of time. I wonder if I were making a change to it, I might allow applications to be due maybe the Monday or the Monday after Thanksgiving would be a potential modification.
I think we're...
Yeah.
It's for discussion. I don't have any commitment to this.
No, I'm just...
Because we've been just, full on in the election season. That's what everybody's been thinking about. I don't know who all's thinking about applying, but we want to make sure that...
Following Monday would be November 26th.
Yeah.
I'm reasonably confident there'll be some interest from Morrisville in applying.
Right, but we want to make sure that
No, I understand.
that thoughtful candidates apply, and people need some time sometimes to think about, could I rearrange my schedule if this were?
So a new board member won't be listening to the interviews. We have a new board member coming on in Don's
So
position.
that depends on the timeline.
When you do it.
The swearing in is at the 4th, December 4th. So if you hold off and have interviews after December 4th, then the new member certainly would be able to participate, would be sworn in. And
That's right.
I think if it's close in timeline, then that sort of makes sense.
It makes sense to me.
That's what I would say is wait.
You would?
Patience is,
Virtue?
All right. If Don doesn't have a disagreement with that.
no, that's how it should be.
Okay.
And then we would do interviews. And in the past, we've done a whole day or partial day
Well, last time we
interviews.
had,
But it depends on, right. But we-
my time. You all have done it
Yeah.
multiple times. When I did it, we did.
We've had upwards of 5 or 7. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how many.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
3 this last time.
Yeah, that's why I said we didn't need a whole day with things. I don't know.
At my visit, there were 6. The only 5 interviewed, I think.
So one question you have in there is whether you want to do it on the 20th and sort of meet beforehand and do it that day, or to have a special meeting between December 4th and December 20th to the interviews. That would just be one question. I believe it's been done both ways. I believe there's been times where it's been done at a regular meeting, but just you convene early and do that in the beginning, but that's up to sort of the board.
I think last time it was a separate day.
It was a separate day.
Yeah.
It was a Saturday.
It was a separate day that we did the interviews. Did we vote the same day?
We did.
Yep.
I don't remember.
Yes,
Okay.
we did.
We did everything right there. So if they submit on the 29th, so Jim, you actually spoke to the potential candidate needing a lot of time. Nobody's spoken to how much time board members need to review them, which is Jonathan's question around schedule.
I would give us
How long do you want to
approximately a
review
week.
them? Because we don't know how many there are going to be, so how long do you want to review them?
A week would be good.
And do the 26th or the 29th, I'm sorry, just to,
Well, he said Monday, and that's a
right, 26th.
26th.
Sorry.
And again, I'm just throwing that out. It strikes me that the 21st is a little bit short from
Oh, yeah.
from today.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
I thought we weren't discussing that now. I thought everybody said, okay,
Yeah.
don't know how much
Yeah.
time do we want
Yes.
to.
We now said, okay.
No, we just went back to it.
So if we go to the 26th, I would say the first week of December, we could potentially.
Maybe not on the 4th, but
The 4th, we've already got our board meeting. I think you're right, though. We did interview on a Saturday, which probably has a greater chance of all candidates being able to interview, right? Because we have to juggle work schedules. I'm good whichever way.
I think the 4th will be pretty packed with swearing.
Yeah, we shouldn't do it on the
people in. Let's not-
No. So I was wondering about. No, I agree.
I'd rather do
completely,
it
not on the
separate
4th.
day.
Yeah, separate.
The question is, what separate day? We could do it that week. Do we want to do it that Saturday, the 8th? Or do we not want to do it?
Oh, I can't do it the 8th.
Okay, so let's first agree, is a week scheduled for people to read it, given we don't know how many there'll be? That's the first question.
I think that's good.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it won't take longer to read it than the time we take to read it. I mean, it's given 3 weeks to read it, it won't get done until the day before anyhow.
Oh, I'm not
Sorry.
like that at all.
Such a high school student, Mr. Fletcher.
Absolutely.
So that anybody new that hasn't been sworn in will have access to the packets.
Yep. That should be what we do, yes.
Possible.
Okay, so then a week to Lindsay's point, puts it to,
If we want to rush it, we could do it on the 1st, and then they could be swearing in.
well, that's not really true. You don't have a week for the first because they're going to submit it, you all have decided the 26th. So that means Melissa still has got a copy to get it to us. So we're not going to get it on the
No, because if we
26th.
vote on that day, the new people.
So if you push it back to the 21st, could it not be on the 4th?
I mean, 2
So the
weeks
only
to do a
question would
resume
be
is.
whether, if you waited just a little longer, the new board member would be sworn in on the 4th and then be able to participate in the vote.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that person needs to be a part of the process.
I agree.
Say that again?
Yes.
The new board member will be sworn
If
in.
you look at the timeline between Thanksgiving and Christmas, every year that seems to collapse and get smaller. It sounds like you're all rushing this thing. Why don't you let the whoever's the new person in here, let them participate?
No, that's what we're talking about.
Oh, I agree.
Fully.
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
And be sworn in and participate.
To make
timeline?
decisions about dates and such.
Is that what you're saying? Sorry.
That's what you're
Yes,
saying about
I
dates and
mean,
everything.
you know,
I agree.
to truly participate, they need to be sworn in.
No, I was asking, are you saying to participate, to hold off on setting the timeline?
Or you can set the timeline,
Okay.
but at least don't rush it and let this person be here
No, that,
for the whole process.
Right.
Yeah, but we was talking about the first. Let's take care of that.
I think that the new District 1 representative needs to be fully engaged in the process, but also don't want to leave the District 7 vacancy open longer than we need to. So I think
It's a balance.
It's a
We
balance.
should be
So I think once that, certainly the new District 1 representative can get the materials, can review it, be sworn in on the 4th, and then we can schedule the interviews between the 4th and
I don't think I have a lot of wiggle room on weekends before Christmas.
So how about
maybe a
the
Friday
10th?
afternoon.
We have a,
10th.
10th, we have a student achievement.
I know, at 3. And maybe we set aside, because I agree, because that way the new person has, they get sworn in and then they have it.
I think that's a good time.
That's a good day.
I would have to get someone to sub for me. I have a conflict that night. I'm sorry. I would like to attend.
We do need him to attend.
But I do have a conflict.
What about the 11th?
11th is fine.
I really like Jonathan Bloom.
I can't really do that week.
That's the side job.
No?
And then we could swear him in the next Tuesday, the 18th would be good, then that person could be sworn in the 18th.
What would be on you're at that whole week, is that Monday?
It's a Monday.
There's a health and action conference.
I mean, I can do-
morning, but
Can you do the morning of
Couldn't
it?
you?
Or you can't do the 11th, you said?
Not really, but I could do the 11th of the morning, but I can't do the afternoon. 'Cause I need to
But we don't know how many people will be interviewing, so that could push into your.
Any other day that week?
we could still
No,
do
'cause I'm leaving.
Monday. We could
Are
still
you
do Monday
leaving?
the 17th, and you could still have swearing in the next day. It's a little tight, but
Either of those days work for me.
Okay, that's either of those.
What'd you say?
Either of those were.
Either of those days work for me. 10th, 11th, 17th.
Well, the 10th doesn't work for Jonathan.
Thank you.
17th?
So what if we just set the dates for the posting applications and those to be received? And then once we see how many that we have and what the number of interviews would be, come back and set the date for it. So that we might be looking at setting interviews
Multiple.
for a half day, thinking it's 2 people, and then we get 10 applications, and
Right.
that's shot, or vice versa. So why not just wait, let's see what
I mean,
we
the only
get.
thing is that means whoever's applying would not know until the week before. But
That's, well, that's consistent. That's okay. Most
Yeah.
job interviews.
Yeah. That makes sense.
the only possible downside is all of our
well,
schedules
except for this is
will
an
increasingly
job.
fill up.
Right.
People can work during the day. So it's technically not the same. As for working people, they would be working during the day. This job is actually not during the
But,
day.
I mean, it's no different than when we had to fill vacancies before, when we were doing interviews with the superintendent. We just got to find a time in our schedules to make it happen to get it done. And then we're back to normal.
Yeah, I actually don't mean us. I actually mean the people we're interviewing.
Well, I heard you.
Yeah, it helps to have those dates
Yeah.
stated.
I think so.
I would agree.
Well, I don't want to do it at all.
Well, I know. It'll be sad. Okay,
Well,
so this is
well,
my
I truly
recommendation. Oh, go
I
ahead.
was going to say, well, I truly value Jonathan being there. I don't think we're going to run into a lot of legal issues over an interview. So if the 10th is your only day, I think we could
I mean,
do that with
I
a
could-
substitute. I mean, like I said, I value your contribution, but I don't think we're,
Which day is off?
That's why you're not a solo practitioner. You have colleagues, right?
but I think that only
I
goes.
really wanted him there.
To lunch. Okay.
There would be voting that potentially that day as well.
Yeah,
Interviews.
I feel better if he's. Do I have a security blanket here?
If it's done.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure he could send us an attorney.
I'll get somebody.
We're voting.
I'm fine that morning, if it's just till like 3 o'clock
Which is when student achievement is.
on the 10th.
You have until 3?
Yeah, I'm fine until 3 o'clock. I mean, if you did it in the morning, early after, it's just.
Good at 6 a.m.
I'm not.
I'm good by
There's the Alpha Health
7:30.
Conference on 10th.
So maybe.
We don't,
Okay, so how about we do this? How about we set the timeline, as we said, they turn it in the 26th, and then we list in the timeline that their interviews will be either the 11th or 17th.
Okay.
And we'll leave 2 days. And so if it's half a day, then we can do it on the 11th.
So the 11th
is fine all day.
Yeah, because I can do the 11th.
Okay.
No, I said both. So list both of them as
The
options.
11th or the 10th?
11th. Because Jonathan can't do the 10th, and you want to
Okay,
make sure he's here.
11th.
So
You
the-
can't do the 11th.
I can do the earlier part of the day. I just can't do all day on the 11th because I leave that evening.
We could do a half day on the 10th and a half day on the 11th. We cover
Yeah.
both of you.
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, I guess that's the question of, are people fine with listing 2 dates, and then if we have 2 people, it's easy. If we have 10 people,
No, I think
if we have 10 people, we're not going to do 10 people in a day anyway.
Well, we have, the law allows us to narrow it down. I'd say
My whole point is, if we choose 10 people, we are not going to do that in a day.
no, correct, absolutely correct.
So,
Would the mornings of the 10th and the 11th
what I think.
both work? Just at
it doesn't work because Jim's AHA is the
ACES
10th.
Yeah,
So
the
the
ACES
morning.
event's on the 10th.
That's why I didn't use the 10th.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Which Christine, I know, will be AHA, Jim will, and I will. on the morning of the 10th. I was like, you're on the committee.
Okay.
You forgot? Good answer. That was a very good answer.
Oh, my.
Because I was like, Roxy, I'm pretty sure you're probably going to be there. But I love that. I love the answer.
Okay, great. Trying to be good.
Okay. So we'll do that. We'll list 2 days.
Thank you.
All right. All right. I mean, I'm going with Jim because I don't have it on either. So, all right.
So McKinley.
We're ready, Glenn. Yes, thanks to Jim because I didn't put that down on my note. Clearly, Christina wrote it. So thank you. Oh, guess what? I have it on my personal. Just on my school one. You're exactly right.
I know.
So my phone is on. See them all?
I saw this. What did they do that?
Because they called
Okay, so
Staff is bringing edits from the last time we met. Our plan is to take these edited slides and put them into our draft 3 presentation, which would be staff's final recommendation to the board. If there are any changes at the end of the evening tonight, we will again update those and then provide you with a final draft, whatever changes are in there. So it'll just be a draft 3, a final draft from staff that will be presented. Okay. So to go through, Parkside Elementary, one of the discussion points from the last time we spoke was the traditional calendar application school. We've previously presented an option of Powell with neighborhood busing and Pleasant Grove with express busing. There was a lot of different conversation surrounding this. What staff had felt that we ended up on based on the feedback from board members was offer both Powell and Pleasant Grove with neighborhood bus transportation.
Well, I continue to hear from some folks, parents, that are not pleased with those traditional application options. So and Ms. Cash made that comment at the last work session. It made me wonder, given the change we made to the Green Hope base, that we weren't going to add to the Green Hope base, would it make sense just not to offer, just to take those schools off the table? It simplifies transportation. We're not going to, and just, I know that staff is concerned that there's not going to be as many available seats for traditional applicants. But if they're not going to choose those schools, it just further complicates transportation there. So I'm just wondering if we should contract that.
So just to clarify then, you would want to offer, instead of Powell or Pleasant Grove, we would offer Green Hope Elementary?
Where folks are, where the traffic patterns are going now for those.
Okay, so Green Hope and/or Hortons Creek, we would have to take a look. And with neighborhood transportation, correct?
That's already, which I'm assuming is in place.
Transportation, that is correct.
And the impact would be some folks would stay at their schools because that would be their calendar choice. But the other downside is that future applicants may not get the traditional option they are seeking because we're not offering, we don't have as many seats. But if they wouldn't go to those schools, or if only a few would go, we may not be getting more folks their choice. But at the same time, we're really complicating transportation patterns.
Would we not give Powell though too with transportation since it's a magnet?
Yeah, I think having Powell as a magnet option, to me, as a magnet supporter, I would maybe not necessarily taking that one off the table. If that would still work with the YMCA and the work that the staff's already done to make that an option.
You're giving the Powell League, and we were going to try to make a feeder pattern right through
We
Right.
continue
to
to do
encourage
that.
that.
So maybe just having Pleasant Grove reserved for the traditional seats up toward Briar Creek and where it was the original intent for Pleasant Grove. So,
Well, the Powell will be available through the magnet application
Correct.
process at all times, except with express busing, right? As a magnet, Glenn?
So
Applying to Powell as a magnet, you wind up with express busing?
for that particular area, I believe it is. I can double check that real quick.
I agree that showing Powell as a calendar option, I don't think helps anybody.
it's not been received
Right.
No.
well.
I think it was a creative idea, and
Yes.
the magnet linkage up into Enloe would be attractive to some if they took time to really analyze
Really
it.
think about it.
But the reaction has been not supportive from the community. So take it out as a calendar alternate option. It's still available as a magnet for the broader community.
And I think it's a signal to us. We need to promote our magnet schools in that area. The Fuller, Carnage, Enloe pathway is popular with many parents in that area. You know, the bus that goes through Breckenridge, for example, is full of students. So maybe we need to, as a system, rethink how we're promoting other magnets like Powell and the other pathways that we have available for parents. It certainly would help relieve some crowding
Right.
in that part of the
Is
county.
Powell a magnet choice?
It's a magnet choice, but it's parent provides transportation currently.
So it would go on their little tab where each family has.
Well, that's not
We'd
good.
add it to
No
there.
wonder they don't go to magnet.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, he's saying this without, I mean, my whole point is it just removes as a calendar option and goes to the tab where they click what's available to them as a magnet option.
But increase the level of transportation.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Because I was surprised to hear that, actually.
And what level would you like it to be? Express, neighborhood?
I don't know.
I guess I'm curious,
It's a
what
big
partnership have we talked about with the YMCA? Because I thought there was a really creative solution to have the before and after school with the
That
YMCA.
also depends on how many parents want
Would
to
engage
choose
with
that
it.
option.
Exactly.
It's not just a blanket for any and all. They would
It's a
need a
buy-in.
specific number in order to be able to
In order for it to
But presumably, we've had some conversations with the YMCA about that?
We have started initial conversations with them about the feasibility of it.
Well, one thing I'm sorry to jump in real quick. The one thing that's important to know that you probably cannot offer before care. After care, it's a possibility you don't know where care, but before care is not an option.
Well, and with express
Okay.
busing, I think it works better. It's easy. It would be easy to. It's easier to get to morning express busing than afternoon express busing.
Yes.
So having the aftercare, I think that would be a very creative option to enhance Powell's attractiveness to multiple families in Western Lake. If we had because all those schools are close together, that proximate express bus with after-school care. I think that, to Mr. Fletcher's point, was a very creative solution. Just not as a traditional application school, perhaps not, but as an enhanced magnet option. I think that maybe we would pull some folks from not just Parkside space, but carpenters from Boston Ridge, folks who want traditional and would go for a magnet option that has reliable express busing and that after-school care so that they don't have to rush to get to an express stop in the afternoon.
I definitely like the idea. I mean, people, they want the traditional, we can't give it to them. I think this is a better option. Ms. Cash?
So you're going to be able to...
Some might, especially if people buy it.
So you're going to look and see if Hortons Creek and Green Hope actually have room?
Well, it's not that they have room. It would be, we'd be looking at the schools that the students would be coming out of Had we gone through with Powell or Pleasant Grove, what schools they would be coming out of, those would stay the application schools for Parkside.
For the
We would
specifically.
assign those as the new application schools for
Right.
Parkside. So those students wouldn't experience a change in school assignment. They would remain as they are with neighborhood busing as application students.
Hortons Creek is currently closed to transfers.
That's correct.
So,
But there are Parkside families who are
Parkside families
already
that are already
at
there.
Hortons Creek.
Yes.
Yes, who were coming out
So
of
for those
Austin
people,
Ridge.
that's who wouldn't have a changed base
Yes.
assignment
I don't
because
think
they're
I
already there.
understand this.
But basically,
Mr. Fletcher,
the draft would be
sorry.
limiting the number of, this would, I mean, I'm not supportive of this idea, but
I'm throwing
this
it out
drastically
there.
reduces the number of traditional calendar options that would be available.
Well, the
Yes?
Pleasant Grove ought to still be on the table.
Oh, so you're,
I don't think I
thought I heard that
understand what
was
Yeah,
being
yeah.
recommended
see,
to-
Christine was recommending taking
Yeah.
it
You
off.
think Pleasant Grove is too far?
I'm recommending taking, it hasn't been well received.
No, but
But
all right, I would,
I'm just throwing out
I understand.
that as a
So
concern.
explain to me, these people will be reassigned to Parkside Elementary year-round.
Right.
And then what is the child that's already at these schools? What's their option?
The child is already where?
At the schools they're leaving?
Green Hope or
Hortons Creek.
Hortons Creek.
It wouldn't be reassigned out of their current school. So if their new base is Parkside, and they're attending, let's say, Green Hope or Hortons Creek,
As a calendar
as a
option.
calendar
Because those are traditional schools. For me or Roxy, who can't keep all these straight.
Yeah, I can't. I mean,
I can't
I
either,
really
Roxy.
wish I
So
had
what's,
year-round.
I'm sorry, so what's the impact then?
So they would stay assigned to their current school. They would not be assigned to the new school.
These are children coming out of Carpenter?
If they want to go, they could apply and go, but we would automatically keep them assigned to the same school they're currently attending.
But their area is being reassigned to Parkside?
Say again, I'm sorry.
Their area is being reassigned to Parkside?
Yes, their address is base assigned to Parkside.
I don't understand how to explain that to parents.
I'm confused.
Because if you reassign because in for instance, my area, you're reassigning from Heritage to Wakefield, but they have to apply to go be grandfathered
Because we're talking
back.
about high school and there's no application schools for high schools. But when you have an application school, we would leave the student assigned to the school. They just change their indicator from a 1 to a P, that's our language. So they're not disrupted in their school assignment. They're just no longer assigned to the school as a base student. They'd be assigned there as an application student.
Oh, I just thought they went to the new school and then they applied back. That's not true.
Now we would leave them assigned.
Just
Yeah,
to
you
clarify
asked
what you said,
clarification.
the student is at the student is in a school as a base assigned student, not as a calendar option student. I'm confused because
Could
we've
be
got,
either or.
Be either, because some of those people are already assigned to Hortons Creek, but
So
they're.
we have Westlake Middle School students who are base students today who would be assigned to Alston Ridge Middle School as a base for tomorrow, but yet they would stay assigned to West Carey.
I know. I was like, I don't think that's right. Just-
They would stay assigned to West Carey, not as a base student, but as an application student moving forward.
okay, so does it matter what their base is today? Are they?
It wouldn't matter what their base is today.
So then I misunderstood you
Okay.
in a conversation. So a student who is base assigned to a multi-track school, who applied and is at a traditional calendar school through the calendar application process, their base assigned multi-track school is changing to a different multi-track school. Does their seat at that traditional calendar school go away?
If that school that they're currently at is the application school for their new base school, then no, they would stay put.
Okay, but the reality of the practice is that the new assignment comes with a different calendar option school where there are no seats. And they have a seat at the current traditional school.
Yeah, that's what I was.
That to me is the challenge of this, is the vacating seats that they've applied for, and I don't know how those seats wind up being refilled So I think that's a challenge for us. If we've got 100 kids in a school as a result of the scenario I just described, we change their base to picking a multi-track school, that 100 kids are supposed to come out and reapply to what the new calendar option school is. So they're vacating 100 seats in that school, and there aren't 100 seats for them to go to in the new calendar option.
Exactly.
So
This is why we've been talking about the grandfathering issues for the calendar changes, right?
Right.
I mean, if a child is being changed their calendar school, I mean, the whole reason we're having a lot of this conversation is we can't afford transportation to multiple applications.
well, but that's not the
I guess
issue
it's
here.
not this one. But it's the still
we're
scenario for a
changing the
family.
basis. If someone's at Morrisville and we're changing their base to Parkside, we're saying that the traditional calendar option that you had at Morrisville
Right.
is not what's available at Parkside. In fact, there is no calendar option available for you at Parkside.
Right.
So we're making the family give up this choice that they've already made.
And I think that's a mistake.
And I'm not sure how to work through that.
Yeah.
I think we decrease the angst of the whole issue of the multi-track assignments if we're able to figure out a way to allow the folks who are in that situation to keep that traditional calendar seat until they age out.
Like the magnet program.
That's what I agree with.
And I don't know what we call it. I don't know if it's grandfathering, if it's something else.
But it's treating it like a magnet program almost, but
Can I offer a different
there's
perspective
different
to that?
transportation options.
I agree with
Is there any difference between families choosing to attend their base and their new school is calendar, the same calendar, where they're going to be forced to move?
Say it again.
So if they're choosing to attend their base and then they're reassigned, in essence, isn't that kind of the same thing, depending on whether they're assigned to the same calendar
Oh,
school
yes,
or an opposite calendar school? We're still moving them.
Yeah, it's same.
Yeah.
It's just you've got parent choice. Parents can either choose their base school or they can choose an application school. I think the only thing we've ever held sacred is the magnet.
Or the transfer.
Until they age
Those
out.
would go, yes.
T students escape this process.
Probably didn't help our system more than what
And
would
what
be
you
to get
just described,
that year-round
that you
options.
said we don't know what to call it, isn't that what we used to call stay where
I'm
you
sorry,
call?
say that again?
What you just described a while ago, and you said you don't know what to call it.
Right.
Then we used to call that stay where you start. Was that not the same as what we used to call stay where you start?
That was not for new schools. So my question remains, for Parkside, if your neighborhood was base assigned Alston Ridge year-round, now you're base assigned Parkside. It's a new school, you need to fill it.
Right.
But when you were Alston Ridge, you applied and got into Hortons Creek or Green Hope. I thought under this plan, those students at Hortons Creek or Green Hope were going to go to Pleasant Grove or Powell. So that is why I suggested that.
That would be correct. You were correct in
Okay.
thinking that. We would assign them to their new
Right.
calendar
So
applications.
that's why I'm saying that those schools, it seems at this point, but you're saying also they would be able to go from a P to a T under this plan or not?
No, he said under what you
Right.
proposed.
That's why I raised the concern that I thought that was not giving stability to those. Didn't seem fair to those families that were already at Hortons Creek or Green Hook. So that's why I raised the concern about taking Pleasant Grove off the table as an option for traditional and having Powell as an enhanced magnet option for more than just Parkside. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah,
But
that makes sense.
And I think what Glenn said and another board member said is that might work, except for that it hinders future applications into the school while those students are there or the crowding remains. So that for those other students who are aging into Parkside that want to choose a traditional calendar option, there may not be seats.
But they're not.
But they're not there yet.
And it may help us fill Parkside and show that year-round calendars, proximate and is available to those parents as a great education, because it enhances the seats and simplifies transportation is my thinking. But
So you're providing stability for families at the cost of not being able to provide an option that's an option for all families.
that families haven't taken yet.
I was about to say, so.
Yeah, I like this.
For sake of not repeating, we're providing stability because it's the real truth is because we're not making this whole traditional, and that's what these parents are asking for. And so we're staying where you start in lieu of creating an option that people aren't going to use.
Not creating choice for the future.
So I want to make sure everybody's clear on that. I want to make sure people are clear because, again, I had already got myself last time that I was ready to make Parkside traditional because I did agree that they weren't given a viable option as a family who wanted traditional. So I want to make sure we're all clear that that's what we're saying. And then clarifying for Glenn, do we have enough people who agree with that?
I like it.
I do too.
Well, so I guess the scenario question that I have is this seems to work well for the people who were at Austin Ridge who would be assigned to Parkside, but weren't a lot of people coming from Cedar Fork also to Parkside. So if you were currently assigned to traditional, and now you're assigned to multi-track year-round, the scenario you're proposing gives no option for that group of people.
They have fewer seats to choose from.
Let's be honest. There's none at Horse Creek, and there's virtually none at Green Hope. So, well, I understand and respect what you're suggesting for the Austin Ridge group. We have, I don't remember what the numbers were coming from Cedar Fork versus Austin Ridge. So that recommendation is just biasing one half, I think, of the.
But that's a good number to look at. Let's see, could we accommodate those if they chose?
Well, what's going to be interesting, that's going to be hard because some of those folks chose Hortons Creek and Green Hope because they were, at that time, they had an option to a calendar option, right? So some of those people were assigned to these schools up here, but they, at the time, had an option to a calendar option, so they chose traditional. So that's why I think it's going to be hard to extract that data, because if I was assigned to Austin Ridge but didn't go and I went to Hortons Creek, I'm saying I'm in the 4th grade now, or 3rd, and I want to stay there, right? And so that's going to be, I don't know how Glenn's going to even begin to know that without calling each person and asking them. Right?
And I want to maximize that stability, but my problem is the people coming from Cedar Fork.
Right. I was just clarifying the other side of this, that some of those folks are already assigned to those schools.
Well, Cedar
Fork's traditional.
And Carpenter's year-round.
And Carpenter's
year-round.
Right.
If I've got the numbers right, which is no guarantee, because we're all working from interpolations.
People move.
Cedar Fork is 10:18 today, and after the plan as presented to us, it'll be at 8:53. Those seats don't disappear.
Right.
But the school is severely overcrowded.
Right.
What's the cap number for Cedar Fork?
That I don't know right offhand.
I can get that for you in a second. It's like 887.
887.
And I'm almost thinking to accommodate what you're talking about, Ms. Kushner, wouldn't it be better to potentially, I'm not saying we want to expand grandfathering that much, but to accommodate what you're talking about, would it be better to grandfather the people who are at Hortons Creek and Green Hope today, but continue with the recommendation of Pleasant Grove to be year-round, the traditional option for all future people, in other words, current coming in from wherever and all future people from Parkside.
That makes sense. Similar what we discussed with our grandfather.
Which we discussed that.
Without transportation.
Without transportation.
Yeah.
So that gives them options.
And it strikes me that potentially gives the best of both, because I really think we run into trouble if we so bias.
Just make sure I understand that.
So to accommodate what Ms. Kushner is suggesting, the people who, I think it'd be the people from Austin Ridge and Carpenter are the ones who currently would have been calendar optioned or calendar application to Hortons Creek or Green Hope. Is that correct? And I'm not saying this is the way it should be. I'm just tossing this out as I think a scenario that accommodates both. Those folks who are currently calendar application to a traditional school from an ultra-track year-round school stay where they are.
With
All-
district transportation?
No.
Become transfer.
No.
Become transfer.
I'm not trying to make anything.
All new requests for traditional calendar, which would include any new students from formerly those areas, and everybody who is currently now assigned to Parkside from a traditional calendar school. Their option would be to Pleasant Grove.
You're not going to like that either.
That's the moving toward the future. Huh?
Without transportation?
Pleasant Grove should come with transportation, as long as we're providing transportation to a calendar application school.
Got it.
Then we have to do that.
So in essence, you're allowing grandfathering in all grades if you're attending your calendar application school coming out of a new school.
I'm saying, if we're going to follow Ms. Kushner's recommendation, and I'm leaning
what he
somewhat in
said.
that direction, I don't see we can do that for the full going forward, because that creates almost zero traditional calendar seats for this population, and I don't think we can afford to do that.
Well, we didn't make the Green Hope base expansion. We took that out in the last permutation. So I'm wondering if there's more seats at some of these schools. I know Morton's
Not
Creek is
many.
full, but
You got a sense for what opens up at Green Hope?
By leaving these students in, you basically only had kindergarten.
But by not moving
and maybe that's fair.
the
Incoming kindergarten.
folks in from Hortons Creek,
That's what those neighborhoods are.
Highcroft rather,
No, I agree.
So what I'm saying is, so if we're going with Ms. Kushner's recommendation of allowing the students who are assigned to Parkside Elementary to remain at Green Hope or Hortons Creek, or even bringing the Hortons Creek into Green Hope, you're still only going to have kindergarten seats available. Whereas if they were leaving to go to Pleasant Grove or Powell, we would have opened up additional seats for more students to apply.
okay?
Okay, so really, that's what their calendar option will be, is could be the new Pleasant Grove.
Right.
All people coming in, that's...
And that's regardless of where a calendar application student might be today.
Right.
If their base changes, they go with the new calendar option school that's connected to their new base. No?
If you're, well, unless they're already at that school, they'll stay there under grandfather. Any new kids coming into Parkside will go to Pleasant Grove if they don't want to be done in schools,
If they want a traditional.
if they want tradition.
Are we clear, Glenn? Are we clear as mud or clear?
It almost just keeps
I'm
the
not
plan like
I'm not
it
clear.
is.
I'm
It
assuming
keeps
that
the-
if it keeps the plan as it is, some of these students would be moved to Pleasant Grove.
No, it
We
keeps
would
the
need to
plan.
make an adjustment, so I think I need a final thumbs up on you guys. Are we leaving current students who are at a calendar application school out of Austin Ridge or Carpenter? We're leaving them at their existing school today, not reassigning them to the new calendar application school, whatever it may be. We'll get to that in a second. So they're staying where they are without district transportation?
As a transfer
Yes,
student.
As a
without
transfer student.
transportation.
And then any and all new students, if they wish to go to the traditional calendar school, plus the students coming out of Cedar Fork assigned to Parkside, they would need to apply to Pleasant Grove, which it sounds like would be the option.
Yeah, my suggestion was trying to simplify transportation and complexity, and I recognize that it's going to lessen traditional options for future students. I'm not trying to expand grandfathering so that things get even more out of kilter with how we fill schools more efficient.
We have students that want to get out, that would like traditional calendar seats out of Alston Ridge and Carpenter currently, and I think that will continue. So by having Parkside long-term with their option as Pleasant Grove, I think that opens up for more people in the area. I know that it's not ideal, but right now there's very few people that are getting their traditional calendar application seats.
That's the issue.
All right, so I've heard two. What you stated, I believe, is if your base assignment change, for no matter what, and you're in a multi-track school and you'd like to go to a traditional school, you're going to go to the one that's connected to that new school.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what, it doesn't matter whether you calendar optioned out previously or not. If your base school changes and it's connected, calendar option school is different, that's your option, and you have to apply for it.
Right. If you're not there yet.
If you're there yet, they're grandfathered.
Yeah, if you're there yet, you
And if
don't
you're
have to
there,
apply.
we're saying we're going to grandfather without transportation.
It's just grandfathering, is that what it is?
Without transportation.
It's keeping the plan like it is, just was grandfathering the kids that are there. And what is Creek and
That's not what I thought she meant.
That's not what you meant.
That's not what I meant. but
Okay, all right.
I see that's where we've landed. That's not what I meant, but I see that's where we've landed.
well, we don't have enough seats to make it
And if we need to,
better.
we don't have enough.
No, we've got at least 400 families, 400 students whose families would like them to go to a traditional calendar school that we don't have. It's just not there. The
We
space
don't
isn't
have
there.
any seats. for
But
that.
for providing enough seats for K-3 class size, we need Parkside to be year-round.
Yes.
Yes, my point.
So
We don't
this
have
is
enough
the
seats,
clash that
period.
we're trying to
Right.
figure out
I was just about to say.
a solution. And that's why I think the public should know why we're talking in such circles, is we're trying to match
What families
as
want
much
in
as
traditional.
parent demand and choice as we can, or parent expectations, with what we are charged with doing and providing the seats, and what could be great parent choices in our year-round program to have a full school that is vibrant and fully enrolled. So that's the tension that we're trying to get around. It's not, and we're not going to be able to, we're just probably still have hundreds of parents who may not get the traditional choice seats that they want. But we need to make sure that we have seats for
But
all
they'll
children.
get a seat, which
They'll
we
get a
wouldn't
seat,
have at all.
approximate seat in their school, in their region. So that's, I think that's why we're talking around many of these issues, and I appreciate staff's patience.
I do too, because it is hard to know that ultimately this boils down to folks. All of these current schools and communities don't have approximate.
Well, they do have, they
To
do.
their definition.
School.
They're pretty proximate, especially if you add to East Wake and you see some of the,
Oh, you don't have to tell me, I live in that part.
Yeah.
I'm quoting what parents have said to us.
Yes, that's true.
Not my
That's
opinion.
true.
You want him to
Yeah.
restate?
I want him to restate, and and then we need a little thumbs up to see if that's where we landed.
Okay. So what I think we left off at was, we're going to leave current students who are on the traditional calendar, who are based at Alston Ridge or Carpenter, assigned into Parkside. So they're attending Hortons Creek or Greenhope. They would be assigned to their current school as is, as a transfer student. Any new students
Without transportation.
without transportation as a transfer, yes. And then any new students assigned to to Parkside, as well as the students who are assigned there from Cedar Fork, they can apply to go to Pleasant Grove with neighborhood transportation.
Right.
That's how you would like that to look.
That's right.
And while I think I'm in support of this idea, somebody, I don't remember if it was you, Glenn, or somebody else, what this, we all have to recognize what this is doing is this is saying that the calendar application person gets more stability than the regular base.
That is correct.
So that is what we're saying by this option. I'm not saying good or bad, I'm just saying that is the decision that we're leaning toward.
Glenn, so new students who attend Austin Ridge Elementary would have what as, you talked about new students to Parkside. New students who attend Austin Ridge in the future would have what school as their calendar match?
They would continue to have Hortons Creek and Greenhope.
Okay, and Carpenter,
I believe it's Greenhope and Weatherstone.
okay, and Morrisville? That's the other one in this mix we haven't really talked about.
That's right, you have this. That's kind of
Morrisville, I believe, is Greenhope and Weatherstone, but I'm going to confirm right now. Greenhope and Weatherstone. Bridgestone as well.
All right, and, okay. And then a cap on a calendar option school would limit the number of applicants that could be received.
That's correct.
Okay, and they would be accounted after the base population is accounted for at the school. Okay,
We would give preference to the base.
all right.
Okay, so let's say you have a look at
Just to clarify on that, Mr. Fletcher, so generally what we do when the CAP school is the application school, we will only seat siblings. That's the priority one guarantee, and then beyond that, no one else gets seated.
Okay.
Just generally, because you...
Unless you're under the cap. If you're at the cap or above, yeah.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so we're ready to move on?
Well, we're ready to make sure people are good with this. I want to see, sorry. I'm sure I have five. I know I have these three. Okay.
So we're good. Okay.
So as we're talking about Parkside, I've been hearing a lot from families in my area that are proposed to move to Carpenter and for K-8 alignment to Alston Ridge. And while I know that there is a lot of crowding and a need for change with K-3 in the Mills Park elementary school base, given the rapid growth that we've seen, I mean, White Oak has gone from 60% to 98%.
It's 97.7 as of
In the 2 years that I've been on the board. Is it, I think we need to look more holistically. You know, we've moved the Highcroft to Green Hope part back. I know Highcroft needs more relief than what we initially proposed. I'm asking if that piece can be delayed as we look more holistically. So coming back to this table next year, either with the same proposal or a different proposal, as we look at the growth in that area and have a holistic look at just the crazy amount of growth that's happening, and making sure that we're not having to take kids out in 2 years to move them somewhere else because of unanticipated growth.
We can certainly put it on our list of items to address next year.
Is that?
You're talking about around Mills Park?
I'm taking pulse.
I'm sorry, you're taking something off the table?
The move for, just to delay for a year, because I think there's so much growth in that area, we need to look. And I'm not saying that we
Delayed
won't.
all the Mills Park issue?
No, this is
No,
Highcroft.
just the, well, I know that we have to look at Highcroft with K-3. You know, we have a K-3 audit that's coming. I'd like to see what we have out of that audit before we make a decision on specifically the part coming out of Mills Park Elementary to going to Carpenter. And so that would include the middle school piece. I think we just have to take a step back and look at the growth in the area and see what's going, so we're not
So are you
moving
talking
around.
about the Mills Park?
It would be
moves?
essentially the Cameron Park.
Okay.
South
I was about to say,
area.
let us use
Yeah.
all the language that we've been
Yes.
using, because I think that's why
Yes.
people are confused. So
Yeah,
can
I'm
you
not
actually
quite sure what
fully
it
tell
is
us
you're
what you're
talking
saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just to delay that decision, take a look, make sure that we're having a holistic approach to the elementary and the middle schools.
Okay,
there.
I'm going to have Glenn repeat it, because I still don't think,
So-
I still feel like I'm not sure what you're saying.
So I think what I hear you say is, other than the moves that we've moved out of Highcroft and moving into Green Hope, that's already off the table. But you'd like us to revisit that again. But you also would like us to delay the move from Cameron Pond to Carpenter?
Well-
Because Cameron Pond is coming out of Mills Park?
I mean, I look at this heat map for green level, and it is, you know, there's areas I drive out to. If I drive up to Mills Park, there's, you know, 10 new houses every week or so. And so I'm just wondering, is it feasible to, I don't know whether it's some sort of,
It's interesting.
yeah, and take
You're
that
saying take the Cameron Pond
out.
leave
And
off
I'm
the
not
table
saying
for
it, right.
I think I just can't really understand, so that's why I just want you to say exactly what we're saying, so I'm clear. Like, I can't piece
Take that
together what
part
we're
out. And I know
Like
that
Cameron Pond.
You mean delay a year?
Cameron Pond at Mills Park.
delay.
Which is what we said last year.
saying. So leave them there.
So
Okay.
what happens to Carpenter?
That's what you're saying.
I don't know.
Right, because, I mean, let's take even the numbers of the family brought us. There was like a half a kindergarten class, and I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but out of Cameron Pond, like half a kindergarten class, and almost a full first, second, and third grade class, and so on. And so we're talking about whole classrooms coming out of a neighborhood. How do I understand that as a small number? And I know I'm not understanding how that's necessarily going to change. And that's what's going to Carpenter because of the Parkside Carpenter move, right? We delayed the Cameron Pond move last year because we didn't want to move them, or 2 years ago, because we didn't want to move them until Parkside opened up, because we knew there had to be a shift to fill Parkside. So that's why I'm not understanding how that part, I mean, I agree that there's a lot of development we need to worry about, but I'm not understanding how that part changes from what we've already evaluated.
How are we worrying about the new development?
I mean, we're worrying about it, but what are we doing about it?
I know, I mean, would Mills Park possibly be year-round at some point because we got development in no schools? And then why would we move this area if we thought about, that's just, I hear
I don't
worrying
know
about
that that's
development,
where
but no.
I don't believe that the school wants to go, the whole population of the school wants to go year-round. I'm just hearing,
But I think Ms. Cash is saying, if we're going to say worry, then we fully have to
We have to
worry
do
and
something.
say.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth because
No,
I'm
you
clearly
go
on the slow
ahead.
bus right now.
right.
No, we keep saying we're going to worry about the growth, but we don't have any school there, so.
So how do we look at that area?
My concern is the capping, continues to be the capping that's been at Mills Park, both the elementary and the middle, and that the instability that causes for parents. That they move in, they get capped out, then they come back, and then the transportation inefficiencies, and that's, I understand the parents' concerns that this is moving both their, changing their calendar and their school. And these are, and I think we've been able to adjust this plan where we can. The Davis Drive move, some of the Green Hope, the Hycroft moves. I appreciate that staff's made those, but this one, I keep running up against this wall of Mills Park having been capped since 2014, both elementary, 2012.
Elementary.
Both, see, I keep both the elementary and the middle school. And how many, at one point, there were 1,800 students in that middle school?
Yeah.
That's a lot of middle school students in a building. And then as the many that are capped out. And that's hard to cap out a middle schooler. So the capping remains my primary concern, and I'm sad that this wall keeps, I keep hitting that wall when I look at Cameron Pond.
Well, the other piece is just the application schools for calendar. I mean, it's Green Hope and Weatherstone, and we know that they're crowded. So if we can't, again, going back to the conversation we just had, if we can't offer for those families seats that are available to provide stability, I mean.
So, I'm sorry, I have to repeat, Ms. Cash.
We can't.
This is the same conversation as
I know.
Parkside, right?
We keep trying to give all these
We are
choices,
still-
we don't have it.
Yes. And I'm not usually on the year-round bandwagon
No.
with Cash, but logically speaking, this is just where we are. People want traditional seats. We don't actually have the space. So we're more than half the schools we've named that would be options are capped or have been or will be if we do something differently. I guess that I'm not making an opinion here. I guess I'm just stating the fact again to Ms. Cash is we'll be back here again if we don't actually say, here's what we're going to do. And I think we just, again, we're all here for the 2 years. And I think we have to have a conversation about really what we're going to do, whether that means we sit down with these communities, one community at a time, and say, here's where we have to go.
Right.
I feel like that's where we are. And again, not an opinion, that's just my statement to Ms. Cash at this point.
Yeah, I think the walls there, we just got
And
to.
I've said for a couple of years now that we ought to lead a growth task force that includes conversations with municipalities. I don't know if we got conversations with communities that come online too fast and there's too many. But if we're talking to municipalities about growth and try to develop better partnerships with them to help us, because it's not something that we can tackle by ourselves. But from a school population standpoint, it's a conversation that we have to lead, and I think it's one that we have to lead in particular partnership with the growth and planning functions of those municipalities.
No disagreement. I mean,
And
there are
to me,
two.
I think that's the piece that's missing. So that's the first part, I'd say. With this piece, and I don't know, I like it, what are the other options for the Mills Park piece in Cameron Pond? I don't see where the Cameron Pond piece makes a lot of sense to me as far as that. And I would like to see them stay at Mills Park. And having gone out there and seen it, I can see on the map why it makes sense and why staff is proposing that move. But then once you go there and look and see it, and I don't support that part of the move, but I don't know what the other options are for Mills Park and what else we do. I hear the capping issue. I hear the number of students that we have at that middle school. That's a large number. But it still seems or feels like we're kind of playing whack-a-mole here with the growth piece, and until we've got some sort of comprehensive plan to address that, we're going to keep running into this same issue. And
Yeah, I don't think anybody here disagrees.
what the other tools are, what all the other tools that are supposed to, because all we're using pretty much is switching calendars.
And capping, those are two options where you
And that's, we need more tools in our tool belt.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and I know several folks who represent Western Wake like me spoke to the town leadership, and I mean, I said to them, I don't know who's going to be chair, but I strongly recommend we sit down with the municipalities and have a conversation. However, I'm still going to repeat, I still also think stakeholders are parents, and I think they have to be a part of that conversation too. But I do think we can't keep turning in circles. The growth is there. We can't just worry about it and talk about it. Because municipalities, they're not a fix, because we still got to have parents engage in this conversation. What municipalities can do for us is prepare us for what their growth is going to look like and what they're approving. And Mr. Fletcher speaks to also, they know what they're going to set their real estate thresholds at. All of that's the information that we need moving forward and not after it's happening.
Interestingly, Government Affairs Committee for the Realtor Association today was host to the planning people from the town of Holly Springs, who, and I don't have the information, I don't think I brought it with me, who provided a 2-page report of all the subdivisions that have been approved, will be approved, and the units that are coming down. I'd just be interested to see if that public document matches up with what they told our staff.
That's what I was thinking.
The other thing is that they are going through a revisiting of their plan, of their development plan, which will affect the uniform development ordinance and future planning, particularly south of Highway 55, which is where our Holly Springs High School is, and on down that area, on down toward Harnett County and Fuquay. And they're going to be envisioning that. And I heard the word school mentioned once during the presentation. So we need to insert ourselves, particularly in the conversations like that, where they're looking at housing units, commercial transportation zones. How are we going to continue to support our broad community? And I think each municipality has that kind of conversation. It may be more structured in Holly Springs than it would be in another one. But that needs to be an intentional part of our work on an ongoing basis. And I agree that the parents have to be involved, but I think that's in informing us to be part of that conversation with the other municipal leaders.
Agreed.
And hopefully they're getting the same story that parents give us, that they get the same story from parents.
So that's the question is, delay that decision until that conversation is had.
That conversation, though, won't create any more seats.
Well, this helps us think about more options. I don't know that we can insert ourselves in the conversation. I guess what I'm suggesting is how we be more proactive to broker those kinds of conversations and thoughtfulness around the issue. I think there is a place for parents. Most of us around the table are parents, but I think if we're having conversations with a parent, as an individual parent, we all tend to think probably more singular about our personal situation. But as governing bodies, we think a little bit more broadly, and we think more about the greater good as opposed to our own singular interests. And those municipalities and those planning departments are having the same conversations about affordable housing, about diversity, about how we diversify our communities and housing so that our schools and our communities are more diverse. And we're currently having those conversations in silos. We're talking about it over here. Cedar Brothers talking about it over here. Karen talking about it over here. But we're not having those conversations together. And we need to, I think, have those conversations together so that we're all thinking about that in our strategic planning and thought. So I'm not saying parents don't belong. There is a place for parents in that conversation. But as governing bodies who are responsible for the greater good, we should be having a conversation, and as a school district and talking about seats, we should be leading that conversation.
Well, I mean, we're the only body that's being impacted by all of those people, so we're going to have to lead that discussion. And that did happen in Raleigh once, but this is like deja vu. I just want to think about this a minute. So we have Mills Park Middle and Elementary that were built for year-round back in the day. We have people all around there and a lot of growth coming in that we don't have seats, and we have it capped out. People are being capped out of that school, and nobody wants to leave that school. So I don't understand why we aren't at this is a year-round school.
Well, nobody wants to leave, yeah.
Because it's right, it fits all the criteria we did in the 90s when people didn't want to leave schools and we didn't have any more seats, and it's just like Mills Park is a year-round school. Everybody can go. Everybody stays there. I know they don't like the calendar. It's the calendar is a problem, but it's the reality that it was built for that.
When was that question posed to the community? I know it was before I was on the board regarding the calendar came about.
Well, I don't know. I just know it was built as a year-round.
More complex than a single question.
But we have to recognize,
But I
right?
don't-
The question is being posed to the community right now, and look at the outcry at Parkside, right? If you turn Mills Park into a year-round school, that outcry is going to just continue. So
Well, we don't have other options.
Then
That's what we don't
capping,
have.
it's more efficient.
Capping, we can't keep capping schools. We can't
So
keep
the-
capping.
That's why this portion
And that's
is
why
on to
we're-
move.
right.
Having
And then,
And by the way, if we take this off,
The only relief may not be sufficient, but
Well,
it
that's
is the
what my-
relief that's available at this time.
That's my concern. Is it sufficient? Because little pieces at a time are not helping us.
But this has also been a part of a several-year plan. I mean, when we opened Hortons Creek, we were providing relief to Mills Park.
We can keep moving all that area away from Mills Park, and we've got enough seats if we keep moving all that growing area and all that, and we're not going to cap, and that's
We've
what...
got our planning for this spring, we've got an ellipse right here that says we need 4 schools in addition to Parkside in that part of the county.
That's exactly what we faced
Okay.
in the past.
Do we have land?
We don't have the land.
That's exactly
We're in
what
the
we
process of buying one more piece of land that's next door to Parkside,
Right.
which would not necessarily be the best
It's all
place to put an
deja vu to
elementary.
me, though.
So,
But this is part of what's driving the conversation about urban footprint schools,
Right.
repurposing buildings and things like that.
but that's,
And frankly, the repurposing of buildings has been looked at during this conversation without a positive answer coming back from staff.
so I think what I hear you all saying is most of you who have spoken are in favor of having a proactive conversation with municipalities. However, in this moment, what are we directing staff to do? So I hear Ms. Mahaffey, and of course I'm saying I hear, so you can correct this, and Mr. Sutton saying at this point they're recommending we not move Cameron Pond from Mills Park.
And then what's going to happen? I mean, I'm just asking you two. We're not moving them now, but what is our plan for next year?
They'll have more classes that are larger sized.
Well, what happens to Carpenter if it doesn't have that, 100 to 120 students?
And then what happens to the capping at Mills Park?
Cap doesn't come off.
Cap doesn't come
So
off.
where do those kids go?
Where the
Cap
Wide open.
Who's back?
Carpenter?
No, at Mills
Spread out. There's no new growth in the base.
And we're running buses.
People can move in.
Yeah, that's-
I mean, I like to delay things if I think there's going to be an answer next year, but I'm trying to feel where the answer is unless.
Because to your point, a proactive conversation is not going to fix next year.
Because if we remove the cap, then the new folks that moved in wouldn't come in, right?
Not necessarily, depends on where they are. If they're part of the reassignment or not. I think
So
those-
Carpenter's overflow is Turner Creek, and they have not capped out a lot of students this year. I can tell you exactly how many they capped out.
Carpenter's not going to be an issue next year because of Parkside opening.
That's correct. It's providing some relief there, yes.
And that was the whole plan that was talked about 2 years ago, which is why the Cameron Pond didn't get moved 2 years ago.
Correct.
Was that all of that was related to the opening of Parkside.
Correct.
We can have, I mean, it's a pretty compact assignment map in that area.
And by the way, if we're going to open 4 more schools in this area, there's going to be more reassignment in this area, not less. And it's going to be proximate.
Okay.
Maybe.
So what
It
do
has
you
to be
say?
because it's such a condensed area.
But we open parks and then we
Let's see how
grandfathered
many people wanna
everybody
do it.
back just now.
And last year,
So
it worked out. More acceptable.
Okay, so we have 2 people,
I would delay because I don't think we know what we're doing yet there.
so that's 3. Sorry, I'm making
Yes,
sure I'm
that's what I
counting you
said.
right.
You count me. I mean, I'm hesitant, but I just don't understand where we're going now.
All right.
That was slide 3, y'all.
I know. That's why I was like, let me move
I've
us.
always said start at 1 when you're talking student assignment. I don't know.
While we're still on Mills Park issue, I thought that the non-built-out land on the south side of Cary Park
That has been
was
removed.
going to be moved out, but when I look at the maps, I did not see the maps
Because
change.
the maps that are on there are not meant for that specific detail. Our detailed maps that'll be in the agenda, in the addendum, you will see those cut out.
We asked
Yeah,
that.
I hadn't seen the change between the different versions. Just want to make sure, because to Mr. Sutton's point, I think we have to take some issues for growth, and that means undeveloped land needs to be somewhere else.
Once we split the planning units, you'll be able to see those maps. So Green Level High School, so the last time we spoke, there was a recommendation from the board to keep the MacArthur Park and the surrounding area assigned to Green Hope High School instead of assigning it to Apex. And just to kind of show you where that is. There we go. That would be this particular area right in here. Okay, so it's MacArthur Park, and then it's right around the I think it's Southwest Cary Parkway there. That area, which was proposed to go to Apex, will now remain at Greenhill. And then we have a before and after map here for you to show that those are remaining. So the only moves into Apex now will come from Cary High School. I'm sorry, and then this little section here of the new development that's coming out of Davis Drive Elementary and Middle. There are the data tables. Did you have any questions about this particular move?
I would want to ask, I had previously done some calculations on the green level enrollment, and this would suggest that 58% of 2266 is 1314, which is significantly more than I had calculated previously.
That's counting 9 through 12.
So what will be there for 910?
910, we're anticipating around 775, 800.
Okay, all right, that's similar to what we previously talked about.
Okay.
All right.
So operational efficiency. One of the questions that came up was the board had asked staff to look at Timber Drive as an application school and asked us to remove that. So what we have here is a map of Swift Creek Elementary. On the left, this is the base attendance area as it is today. Okay. And then this is the proposed base attendance area. This includes the area that's coming in from Yates Mill, so it looks a little bit different, okay? And so what we're proposing here is today, these students in this area, they can apply to both Adams and or Oak Grove. And now what we're doing here is this area in blue would only be able to apply to Adams, and the area in red would only be able to apply to Oak Grove. Okay?
I'll wait till we get to the next one.
Okay. So the next side is Yates Mill Elementary. Okay. So here you have Yates Mill Elementary today applies to 3 different schools. You've got this area here that can apply to Timber Drive, and then this area here that applies to both Adams and Oak Grove. So in an effort to try to have overlapping calendar application areas where we can be efficient with our transportation, just go back, these 2 blue areas here would be this area here and this area here. So all of this we're proposing to apply to Adams only. And then the area down here, which would go along with the red section from the previous slide here, they would apply to go to Oak Grove only. Okay. Do you have questions, Matt?
Yeah, so we had talked last time about the change from a P to a T for those students if your calendar application school that you're currently at is being taken away.
And we'll address that in the grandfather rules, yes. I'd like to speed up too.
Yeah,
We'll get there.
I'm just making sure that
Yep.
we're...
Okay, so this is the final slide that we will input in place of the other one previously that shows Swift Creek is going to apply to Adams and Oak Grove based on catchment, as well as Yates Mill, Oak Grove, and Adams based on their catchment. Okay. So then looking at the middle school, you had asked us to look at North Garner as an option for the Dillard Drive families. Okay. Currently, they apply to Lufkin, East Cary, Westlake, and North Garner. And you can see here on the map on the left, this area here currently applies to North Garner Middle School. This area in purple applies to East Cary Middle School, but if we're changing their calendar to traditional, we would need to find a new application area for these students. Students in green here, they would apply to Westlake, and then Lufkin in blue here to the west. So what staff is proposing is to leave this particular area here. I know the colors don't look so great. But this area would stay proposed assigned to North Garner. And then here, this whole particular area here, we would have them apply to Lufkin Road.
This isn't where Twin Lakes is it?
No.
Tell me when we get there.
Well, it's what we didn't do Twin Lakes.
Oh, but I thought we were going to talk about it.
We can.
Okay.
We can talk about it more. If there's any other ones you want to talk about, we can certainly do that.
Well, and I will just acknowledge that, I mean, because this is in District 5, there will be people who will not be happy with particularly the Westlake issues, but as Glenn and I talked about it, there's just no logic to have a divider right down through the middle, and I believe the grandfathering issues will moderate the calendar application revisions. So I think that's the compromise we kind of have to live with.
Okay. So here would be the revised slide, okay? You would still have North Garner for that particular area up by Raleigh, but then again, it would now just be Lufkin Road for Dillard Drive. We did not change the North Garner here for Ligon as the calendar application school because it has an adjacent area that already applies downtown to North Garner, so we felt that that still made sense. It wasn't like we were taking students from a multi-track here, moving them to a track 4, so we're keeping that in the particular proposal. And so now would be a good time to talk about Austin Ridge Middle School as an application school. I know, Ms. Cash, you had some concerns about not offering Austin Ridge Middle School as an application
Is there
school.
a map that I can see that I'm...
I don't have a particular map of the area. So what we've done is students in this particular area, you've got West Cary, and we're offering that they can apply to Lufkin Road, Salem, or Pine Hollow, depending on where they are. Pine Hollow would be for the families who live in that Northwoods area, closer towards the airport and 540. And that's why we're proposing that they would go to Pine Hollow. Staff has not recommended a new school as an application school because in recent years we've had issues with not being able to accommodate that request, waiting to see how the growth was going to happen in the area, and I know that's frustrated parents, specifically this past year with Apex Friendship Middle School.
But there's only 11 students in that area in Twin Lakes that are closer to Austin
So
Ridge.
this would be different. You're proposing that a particular neighborhood only be able to apply to a different school as opposed to the other areas within that base attendance
Because
area.
of where they are they're above a road, a large road that separates those. I don't have the map.
They're up on Airport Road and McCrimmon Parkway up in that area.
So I can't argue because I don't really have the map in front of me. Does anybody know that?
I am, but I'm not exactly sure where the area is and what the split is.
I wish
Oh,
I
yeah.
That what?
He was getting ready to pull it up over there, and I said, it need to be pulled up on that.
I'm sorry. I had the map. That's my fault. But I thought I'd ask it a couple
He's
times.
not, he can pull it up there all day long, you won't be able to see it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm trying to understand how adjusting the boundary of a catchment area for an application is any different than what we just did at Swift Creek and Yates Mill, which is what Roxy's asking for.
It's not even in here. Just that slide, that one.
I didn't see it as a... Glenn, I'm sorry.
It wasn't a slide.
Just like a Google Maps, or do you want to see?
Google Maps fine. Can you do that? I mean, you pretty much can do all that stuff. I'm really sorry.
Don't apologize. You're coming down to...
So looking at slide 29 of our first presentation.
Slide 29. Paragraph 1. This one? So is that
That's the Austin Ridge.
is that right there?
So here's a Google Maps of the
I'm
area.
looking here. Is it this?
So the area you're talking about is here, Twin Lakes. Okay? This area here was originally proposed to be assigned to Alston Ridge Middle School and Parkside Elementary, but in draft 2, we kept this entire neighborhood together because of this road right here, this is Airport Road, it does not go all the way through, so it's basically a dead end right here. So in keeping this at Cedar Fork, these students would then be assigned to West Cary Middle School. And therefore, their application school in this particular area would go to Pine Hollow, okay? And this particular neighborhood you're requesting go to Alston Ridge Middle School.
Where's that?
Now, Alston Ridge Middle School is up over here, and Pine Hollow is up back that way out of the screen.
But it's-
Or do you want to pull that out so we can see?
And where is the Alston Ridge? So what, is it just that neighborhood that we're talking about for?
Well, that's what
Like,
Ms.
how
Cash
big
is
is the
bringing up.
catchment for?
It's much larger than just the neighborhood. So you're talking about other neighborhoods that would be included in it, if you want to include the entire catchment.
One of these maps would be very helpful. But I think we're also.
I should be looking at?
Well,
I mean,
That's what shows us Austin Ridge, but I don't have it located, the neighborhood we're talking about.
page 29 on Alston Ridge.
And is there a difference with Alston Ridge being year-round versus Apex Friendship, which was traditional? And
So these are
demand for
year-round?
seats? Yeah. That kind of helps.
Is that the area up here? Do you know?
So it's
Do you know
that-
where Twin Lakes is?
no, that's 40. 40 is the major.
You're looking at the pink area. It's somewhere, it's in the pink area in that bump.
Somewhere over here?
No,
It's somewhere in the
there,
boundary between
somewhere in
yellow
that
and pink.
pink area.
Right above that road?
It's not all the way out of the county line. It's closer to the airport.
It's not very helpful. Well, I don't know. Did Twin Lakes, did any of the parents talk to anybody but me?
I heard
think we've seen some emails.
Feedback. I can,
I'm not
understand.
So,
Wanted to be more proximate for their
year-round choice.
You just want to look on the map, where are the,
So there's Austin Ridge up to the yellow on the far left.
And I think to Ms.
And where's
Mahaffey's
the Twin
question,
Lakes?
you know,
Is Twin Lakes right up there?
given that it's good, thank you, that's helpful.
Do you know where?
Twin Lakes is in this. Twin Lakes is right in here. Okay, that area right there, that's just yellow into the pink there. This is McCrimmon Parkway, right there. So this in draft 1 was assigned to Parkside Elementary and Alston Ridge Middle. This would now be pink, which would be West Cary Middle School. So here's Alston Ridge Middle School, and then Pine Hollow is up off of 40 there, out of the map.
So they were assigned to Alston Ridge and then we moved it.
40.
That is correct. They were assigned to Alston Ridge Middle School, but then when we put the neighborhood, they asked for the neighborhood to be assigned to Cedar Fork with the southern portion of their neighborhood, and so we accommodated that in draft 2, but now
The year-round people that were not in on that conversation were happy to go to Alston Ridge, and they want that to be their choice because I think they didn't say anything, but they thought they would be assigned to Alston Ridge.
And what's their elementary? I just feel that, they're only.
We changed that between draft 1 and draft 2.
I just
We
feel like
changed
they're
it for
only-
draft 2, yes.
Right, so a month ago.
So Cedar Fork would be their calendar application school, and so
No, they
it
would
would be,
I'm sorry, they're at Cedar, their base.
base.
Cedar Fork is their base, and their application school would be what it currently is for Cedar Fork, which I believe is Morrisville.
which feeds into Alston Ridge Middle. So they would be the only cohort out of Alston Ridge, or out of Morrisville.
Those 11 kids were going to go to a different. So it's year-round in that reassignment piece that wants their alternative to be Alston Ridge.
Yeah.
Versus Pine Hollow.
Yeah.
How big is that catchment?
We could, it's dense. There's a lot of students. I mean, what we could do is instead of doing Pine Hollow, we could offer Salem, so then all of the students, because all of the students in that particular area, if they're going to, out of the West Cary base, they're either going to Salem or Lufkin. I feel like Lufkin may be further. We could do Salem just as everyone else in that particular area.
But the year-round kids are going, what about the year-round kids that are in year-round elementary? Are they?
So the kids that are in year-round elementary, let's say Morrisville, they would go to middle school, they would either go to Salem or Lufkin, depending on what school they're coming out of.
But if you're a base student at Morrisville, you go to Alston Ridge.
So that's the difference.
Under this plan, that's correct.
You don't think Alston Ridge can handle it?
There's a lot of growth in the area. I mean, we've had issues with trying to accommodate every request into a new school as a
We
calendar.
have a lot of year-round, but we only don't have many year-round kids in that area.
How many kids are at Pine Hollow transferred in?
Say that again?
How many kids have calendared into Pine Hollow Middle? It's our latest year-round. That's 79%. Two, actually.
Currently calendaring into Pine Hollow.
They don't understand.
We have 352 students.
What's that number again?
352 calendaring into Pine Hollow. These would be students who went to Sycamore Creek Elementary and Briar Creek Elementary.
And they don't go to Alston Ridge?
But that's not, that's inclusive of several elementary schools.
Yeah, that is correct.
It's not discrete
Just
for
total for
coming from Cary Morrisville.
That's correct.
So it doesn't help us much.
Well, I'm going to propose that area, Twin Lakes get to choose their alternative school as Alston Ridge.
We ought to just assign one, don't you think? Because then we wind up sending two buses through the neighborhood for two different calendar options. We're trying to solve that elsewhere. So as long
And I'm not
as-
sure would it be Twin Lakes or would it be the catchment area, which is larger than Twin Lakes? Because we do the work by catchment, not by
I would
neighborhood.
prefer it be the entire catchment if you're going to make that.
which is the larger.
Whatever
one you
this
just gave us.
catchment for Pine Hollow is, whatever that catchment would be for Pine Hollow would be for all.
Saying, okay, hey Eric, go down to the calendar application slides where we talk about West Cary Middle School. Later, this draft, later slides. Just scroll down further when we get into the application schools.
The pink is Pine Hollow? Is that what you're saying?
Pine Hollow is way
Keep going.
I know, but the catchment area.
Well, this is all of,
All right, so now keep going. We're going to go to the middle school map.
some
So
of the stuff is going on
a couple more.
in some of the
Elementary. Gets into the middle. Next one. Here you go. So this is West Cary Middle School from draft 1. So the area in blue, light blue, is the area in question. So are you requesting that area gets to apply to Alston Ridge Middle School, and the area in yellow would then apply to Salem.
It's the whole blue, not just the left side of that road.
The whole blue. What would you like to do? I mean,
We have to treat
this is
it.
what we propose to apply to Pine Hollow, the blue. The entire.
The Lufkin,
I'm sorry, that was the original school, application school in that area was Lufkin. So it's Salem for the southern part in yellow, and blue is Pine
Hollow.
Thank you.
So the question is, are you asking for a third option for a portion of that blue, or are you looking at the entire blue?
to be Alston Ridge Middle instead of.
Well, I don't know the numbers well enough to propose the whole thing, so I can't do that right now. I probably need to come in and understand the numbers, and there'll have to be an amendment at the table.
What number of students in that area is currently wanting year-round?
Yeah, what told you 11? You said there were 11 kids.
Folks are in the
Parent in
neighborhood,
that
but not
neighborhood,
the whole
Twin Lakes
catchment.
neighborhood, but at that point, I don't think they were thrown all together.
They were looking at a small
Just
portion of the area.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, they weren't all together.
Right.
Suddenly, they were all together. And that became the problem.
When would we expect Alston Ridge to become a calendar application school, or are you expecting it never to become?
I mean, we would wait for the area to build out. We've got two large neighborhoods that are building right around Panther Creek High School that are assigned to Alston Ridge Elementary and Middle School that we'd like to anticipate to see how crowded those schools get. And honestly, I mean, when we don't have traditional calendar seats in the area, it's more likely that these students are all going to attend Alston Ridge Elementary and Middle. And then when you look at the one-stop shopping that parents will have with K-8 being on one site, we anticipate the school will be crowded.
I don't have enough information right now to make a suggestion, but if I feel like I have, I'll make an amendment at the table.
So what information can staff get you?
Well, the number of year-round people that are, I think, in that area, if you're calling the whole catchment now, that would impact Alston Ridge Middle.
So likely
Those-
middle school attendees that are in multi-track today.
Right.
In
It's
that
either middle
blue
or
and in
out.
that yellow.
But I think you're going to need to, is there an interest in a third calendar application school that would allow us to choose a smaller catchment area that includes Twin Lakes?
Well, that's
or the
what I would
entire?
like best. That's
So maybe
what I'd like
SIBO.
more. Yeah,
SIBO.
see more as like a
SIBO.
smaller catchment that
SIBO.
has a different choice. But
So it's a 5:17, and I'd already talked to staff earlier about having this conversation after we have public comment anyway to continue it. So since you've asked for a hard question, that's a great place for us to just stop at this point, and we will go in, follow the schedule as planned. We only have consent items, so after we hear parent comment, then we can pick up, which is actually helpful, because the point of this was that if we have questions or feedback after hearing this last round of public comments, that you'd be able to do that. So we'll do both now. We'll take into consideration what we hear from our speakers, and then whatever questions we have going forward, we'll ask the staff those questions there, so we'll know the answers. So we will leave this room with staff knowing every question or follow-up that you're going to need. And so we'll take the same time out there to clarify. And so what I said to Glenn is we'll make sure we know exactly what is needed from us to staff. And then Ms. Cash, you made the other point. Staff will give that to us. They will present that as their final draft to us on the 20th. And to your point, if there is a change at the table, just as we've done, I think you were bringing it up because you made a change last year, that'll happen at the table. My memory could be failing, but I think it's right. So we'll use the same process.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're good for now then? Okay.
Oh, we did. Okay. Thank you. We weren't so far behind. Okay.